Life has two components to it, guaranteed: birth and death. The first, we celebrate, we embrace. The other, death, is as much a reality of life as the birth is. Every one of us will have to deal with it. Well, my name's Larry Turner, and I'm a 75-year-old guy. I don't know how I got so old, because inside I'm not that old. I lived a very active life up until a point where I found I was diagnosed with incurable pancreatic cancer. It came like a death sentence. Once I suddenly found myself with the diagnosis of a terminal illness, I really wanted to focus on my quality of life as long as I can. Maybe 5% of the pancreatic cancer patients can be cured if you can surgically cut out the cancer. But most times the cancer is not detected until it has spread or grown to the point that that's not possible. And I'm really quite old for surviving that arduous operation anyway. The chemo is the reason I'm here today. If I didn't have that, I would not be here. And I'm a very fortunate person to survive a year of this. And I have a few more chemo sessions available to me before it will have finally done enough damage to my bone marrow that it can't produce the red blood cells I need to function well or be healthy. Then the question comes, how long am I going to live? So that was one of the first questions I asked the oncologist. And she said, everybody's journey is different. Cassie was, she was our firstborn child. She was a high school senior, died by suicide at age of 17. She lived this exterior life until she died. We did not know, the family did not know, her very close sister didn't know, her friends didn't know what kind of battle she was fighting within her own brain and psychology, because she suffered an insidious brain disorder, which we call depression. I was aware of a movement through an organization called Compassion and Choices, which introduces the concept of death with dignity. One of the public misperceptions about death with dignity is they confuse it with death by suicide as we so commonly know it. In a way, I'm privileged to a closer view of the two because I have lost Cassie to a suicide. And I realized that at some point in watching what has happened with my parents and other people, that this is an option that I would probably like to have available to myself in the future. I figured when I no longer can hang in there, I'm helpless. I'm basically holding on to breath for the sake of holding on to breath, but there's no hope of getting better. There's no hope of any medication or anything that's going to make me function better. Then I would like to leave. I try very hard to adapt to everything that's happening to me and make the most meaning out of my life because I love life here. And again, that's the difference between me and my daughter, who has suffered from depression and saw life closing in without options. After you finally accept the fact that you're going to have to die, then I think a lot of us become very concerned about what's the process going to be. A lot of us would just like to have a heart attack and go, or get hit by a bus, go. But we don't have that option. We don't know how we're going to have to deal with death. But when you have a disease that's going to take you, you may not want to have to undergo being stuck with pain that can only be alleviated by opioids or something that totally make you become a non-person. And that's where I would really wish I had the option of death with dignity. And it would not come out of the blue like a bolt with a tragic suicide of someone with that depressive disease. And people would understand why this, and they would be sympathetic with it. When would I decide to take this option? Well, I don't know, because I haven't been there. And I found that there's so much in my life I do not understand until I am part of that. If it came to the point where it was obvious to me that my body was breaking down and From here on out, it was basically just trying to keep it breathing as long as possible. Forcing my loved ones and my relatives to witness this. And they couldn't help but be empathetic. If I didn't have the death with dignity option, I may be expressing that I want out of here, I want to die, help me die, and they can't do anything about it. My doctor can't do anything about it. He totally understands. These people would like to help me, they're on my side, but they can do nothing. I would like to avoid that. A significant portion of people who do have the means at their availability in the states where they're allowed actually die without opting to take that option. But they had it there, and it's very comforting because they always knew they had an alternative. I have talked about death with dignity and compassion with choices explicitly with some members of my family, and they are totally supportive. This way they can participate in the decision. They can participate in the process up to the point of saying goodbye and knowing when it's going to happen by mutual consent, and then you die, which people do, and it's very sad for the family, but the grief is a shared grief among them. They have so much in common in approaching that. They will be relieved of the kind of guilt that harpoons loved ones when someone dies by sudden suicide. And it's a very personal decision at one of the most important crossroads in one's life.